Well, it is great to have all of you with us today. My name is Chris, one of the pastors here, and just a warm welcome to everyone connecting through all of our locations, those of you online. We're one church right where you are, and we're in the fifth and final part of this series, Be Life Unleashed. And before we really jump into kind of where we're headed today, there's a couple things that I just have to kind of make clear, because today's message, sermon, talk, speech, whatever you want to call this thing, is going to be different, significantly different than most of the times. And so if you're here for the very, very first time, I just want to say that right up front. If you've missed parts 1 through 4, I just want you to know this, that like today's going to be different. It's going to be different in a couple different ways. Before I get to those couple different ways, if you haven't watched this entire series, I can't encourage you enough. Go to tcconline.tv and watch parts 1 through 4. Now, again, if you're kind of newer to Tri-County Church, you're just taking a step in, maybe you've taken the step in for a few weeks, a few months, we use this word series. We're in a series called Be Life Unleashed, and all a series means is this, is we write I write one really long message, like 2, 3, 4 hours long. It's one long message, and here's the thing I know. No one wants to listen to me or any other of our other gifted communicators for 2 or 3 or 4 hours at one time, right? None of you do. You can applaud for that. You're like, thank you, Chris. Like, we don't, right? I know some of you are like, we don't want to applaud for that. That feels bad. But it's true. Like, none of you want to hear me. Again, we have gifted communicators like that. So what we do is we take this one really long message and we break it up into smaller chunks that all weave together. And so if you've missed parts 1 through 4, that's why you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it because it will help with what I'm going to share with you today. Now, I said there's a couple reasons why this is important, why today's going to be a little different. Last week, part 4, it was Saturday night service, and I was about minute 10, minute 11 in the midst of the message, and I'm talking out loud, and I'm having another conversation with myself. By the way, that happens all the time. All the time. I'm talking, and I'm just having this old dialogue with myself, and the dialogue at about the 10, 11-minute mark last week, Saturday night service, was this. Chris, you knew better. Chris, all week, you told yourself, make this one message, part 4, into 2 different messages. Separate it out. Cut it in half. So you have enough time for part 4 and enough time for the rest of this for part 5. All week, Chris, you were saying to yourself, you should do it, you should do it, you should do it, you should do it. And you didn't listen to yourself. That's what I was talking with myself at minute 10. So I made a decision last Saturday night at the minute 10, minute 11 mark. And here's what you have to understand. I have 2 incredible people that just serve faithfully, and they run all of our slides here. And this is probably one of the most difficult things. Now, we do rehearsal and we talk through it, but here's the thing. For Chris and Penny, they have to crawl inside of my brain, and that's a really dark place to find yourself. And so at the minute 10, 11 mark, Chris was running slides last week. Penny's running slides today. So last week, all of a sudden I realized when I made the decision, as I'm sharing that I'm going to cut this message in half so I could really land part 4 and spend adequate time with part 5, I'm having this conversation. But Chris doesn't know this. Chris thinks you're going to do all of these other 10, 11, 12 slides, and you're just not. And then I had this aha. But Chris lives inside my dark brain. He will figure it out. And he nailed it like no one knew. After service, Chris goes, you realize you cut off like all of those slides. I'm like, yeah, that was intentional, right? So what I did was all week, it gave me more time. I totally scrapped all of that. I reworked it so I could spend just good time today. The second thing that's really important, especially if you're newer into the life of Tri-County Church or you're with us for the very first time, this is important. We preach the Bible. A whole bunch of it. That question gets asked, and that question usually gets asked to churches, not Tri-County churches, but Tri-County churches that are like, style-wise, like Tri-County Church. That question gets asked. Maybe you've asked that question. Well, yeah, but do they really preach the Bible? And then you show up and you realize, whether I'm communicating, someone else is communicating, we preach paragraphs of the Bible, sections of the Bible, verses of the Bible. We tear apart the Bible. We go back to the ancient context of how it was written, the language it was written in, the cultural implications of it. We love it. In parts 1 through 4, I preached a whole bunch of Bible. Part 5, right now, today, I'm going to preach itty-bitty Bible, okay? So if you're here for the first time or just come in a few weeks and you're like, yep, see, he didn't even preach the Bible, you gotta watch parts 1 through 4. A whole bunch of Bible. Today, itty-bitty Bible. But I promise there will be 2 verses. It will come, okay? We good? Because, and this, again, to understand our series, this is important. This was supposed to go last week. But if I would have included this last week, we would have been here, for hours last week, right? So we're going to avoid that today. So one of the things we kept on coming back to throughout this series is we all have an image of church. We all do. That image has been populated, been scripted, been developed over the years. Your parents have helped develop the image of church for you. Growing up, developed an image of church for you, the denomination you've been part of or different denominations you've been part of, how healthy the church was or how unhealthy the church was, what your parents said about the pastor, both good and bad. It develops the picture of church, right? There's so much that goes into the image of church. We all have an image of church. And where we landed last week, part 4, was this word church isn't in our New Testament Bible. It's actually this Greek word, ecclesia. And this Greek word ecclesia isn't even a Christian or churchy type of word. It was just a very common everyday word. It means a gathering, an assembly of people for a very specific purpose. Whatever that purpose might be. Whatever that purpose might be. And usually it was used for government officials, politicians, right? That they were gathering together, they were assembling together for a very specific purpose. And Jesus takes this very common everyday word, ecclesia, and he takes it and he looks at Peter and this group of people and says, hey, Peter, upon this rock, I'm going to build and our Bibles read church. But Jesus said ecclesia. Peter, gather people together for a specific purpose. And you know what then Jesus did? He told us what that specific purpose was. He gave us the mission of the church. He said, go, make disciples. Meaning, go find people who don't know Jesus, walk with them and love them until they name Jesus the subject of their life, then continue to walk with them and repeat. Take those people, go find people who don't know Jesus, walk with them, love them. Not guilt them, not shame them, but walk with them, talk with them, love them until they name Jesus the subject of their life. And then keep walking with them and go find more people, right? That's go and make disciples of all nations, all people, wherever you go, teaching them, baptizing them. And Jesus promised that he would be with us. He would be with us. So he said the mission of the church, the ecclesia, the gathering of people. So you gather people together for a specific purpose. Jesus made so clear what the mission of the church is all about. And if you've led organizationally in any type of business, whether it's a for-profit business, a non-profit business, whatever it is, you know that every company has a mission statement. But every company also attached to this mission statement, there's another M word. It's the method. It's how they go about accomplishing their mission, right? It's very common, very common. We get this. It's not a church thing. It's an organization thing, whatever the organization is. Mission, method. Mission is what we're all about. The why, the method is how we're going to accomplish it. In 1886, a jewelry repair person, a watch repair person had one of the most innovative ideas of that whole century. His idea was, what if people could mail in their watch, mail in their jewelry to me, I repair it, and I send it back. 1886. He had this idea, and he started. And then by 1887, the next year, he hired a guy named Roebuck to handle the jewelry and watch business. And he started to work on something that I'm sure all of you, or at least most all of you, have seen before. The Sears catalog. Oh, remember the Sears catalog? You could open it up. I mean, anything you wanted to buy was in the Sears catalog. Innovated. Revolutionary, 1886, 1887, and a few weeks ago, Sears declared bankruptcy. In 1995, another company comes along with a very clear mission. This was their mission. Their mission was this: customer satisfaction and delivery, and an inspiring online shopping experience. Their mission was clear. Their method, how they're going to accomplish their customer satisfaction and delivery in an online inspiring shopping experience, their method, books. And all of a sudden one day, this company called Amazon. Well, you mean I could log on to this World Wide Web and order a book? Not go to the library. Order a book and it gets delivered? What? And last year, 2017, Amazon, during the Christmas holiday shopping extravaganza, Amazon was right under 50% of all online Christmas shopping purchases. Oh, do they still sell books? Yes. But what Amazon realized was their mission wasn't books. Their mission had nothing to do with books. Their mission was about customer satisfaction and delivery in an online inspiring shopping experience. And over the years, their method has continued to change. But their mission, and here's what's important. When companies, organizations, the church gets this, understands that you hold on tightly to your mission, but you hold loosely to your method. Companies, churches thrive. But when companies and churches hold tightly to their method, they lose sight of their mission. Because the truth is this: you can't hold on tightly to both of these. And Sears started to hold on tightly to their method. And Amazon has held on tightly to their mission. And we as a church, and that's why I spent parts 1 through 4 of this series talking about mission. And we're going to hold on tightly to loving like Jesus loved, to living like Jesus lived, to leading like Jesus led, and to leave behind what Jesus left behind, which is more people to love, live, and lead like Jesus loved, lived, and led. We're going to hold on tightly to that. But church, come on, people, let's hold loosely to our method. Because if we don't, if we reverse those, if we start holding on to our method, we will end up where Sears has ended up. And where some 6,000 to 10,000 churches here in the United States find themselves every year closing their doors. Now, one more piece. And this is just for you to process, right? This is just a thought that I just want to kind of stick in your mind. You can say it's an early Christmas present. I'm happy to give. But I just want this thought to just kind of roll around in your mind. All of you will find yourself somewhere on this number chart. You're on here somewhere, and you're right now going, what does this represent? I'll make it easy. This number chart represents the first number of your age. Have you found yourself yet? If you're struggling, ask the person next to you. They will help you out. They will laugh at you. They'll give you a weird look, but they will help you out, right? I'm not asking for your age, but I'll just share with I'm 45. I'm right in between the 4 and the 5. I'm right here, okay? Our mission, no matter the generation, no matter the decade, again, we're going to hold on tight to our mission. Why? Because that's the mission that Jesus gave his church, the ecclesia, a gathering of people that come together for a specific purpose. Mission, hold on. But our method is going to change. And this is what I just want you to process. Because every church makes these decisions all the time. Every church does this. And here's the decision, and you got to make it, right? Because you're part of the church, the ecclesia, gathering people. Here's the decision. If your number that your age starts with is somewhere around the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, which is probably most of us, here's the decision you have to make. Are you willing to keep method loose in your hands? Because if we don't, if we start to hold on to method, how we like church, we're not going to be able to help impact the 0s, 1s, 2s, and 3s. That one day they're going to be the 2s, 3s, 4s. That one day it's going to be the 3s, 4s, and 5s. That one day it's going to be 5, 6, 7. You see, all of us have a decision. Because somewhere along this way, the method is going to push us out of our comfort zone. And if we're holding on to method, church dies. But if we're holding on to mission, we'll be okay with the method changing because we realize that, guess what? The method is about helping people in the 0s, 1s, 2s, 3s to be the church of today and tomorrow. And for me, as a 45-year-old, I'm asking myself the question right now. Chris, what do you have to do now? Now, to start changing so that we can continue to be a church that continues to reach today's generation and tomorrow's generation. And every church, whether they realize it or not, makes this determination. Are they going to hold on to mission and hold loosely to method, or are they going to hold on to method and forget mission? And we got to be a church that holds on to mission and holds loosely to method. So in the time I have left, I'm just going to talk about method. Why we do what we do and how we do the why we do what we do. One of the methods that I'm so excited about, it's what I call our digital footprint. Over a year ago, we launched our online campus and social media. Now, I'm going to talk about those specifically here in a moment. But I'm seeing method change in front of me in my own home. In my basement, I have a beautiful 60, 65-inch HD TV hanging on the wall. I want one of those really like fancy curved ones, but I have this self-imposed decision making that I will never buy a new TV until one breaks, which I've thought about. What if I just throw a sledgehammer at it? But I'm not going to, right? Beautiful TV. It hangs on my wall. I have like surround sound speakers. I go downstairs into my man cave and I watch football. I watch my Dallas Cowboys lose. Yeah, I know. And then I turn on the Steelers game. I'm like, they're playing like, how do I switch? It's amazing picture experience. Then I walk up my stairs and I find my 12 and 16-year-old daughters. You know what they watch on? A 6-inch iPhone in their hands. I'm just telling you. I'm like downstairs, it's 65-inch HD. I got hundreds of channels. I mean, I only watch 3, but I have hundreds of channels. They don't even watch that. You know what they watch? Vine videos on YouTube and Netflix. They think it's hilarious. I watch them, I'm like, that's funny? I'm just telling you, method, it's changing in front of my eyes. My girls don't care about a 65-inch HD TV. They want it in their hand. They want it personal. They want to be able to touch it, scroll, pause, change, flip, multitask, Snapchat. I mean, they are just, all over the place. I'm just telling you, I'm watching method change in front of me. And so over a year ago, we made such a strategic decision. There's a leadership team that leads Tri-County Church. It's an amazing group of people that are passionate about the mission of God's church. And over a year ago, this team, we made this decision to launch our online campus. So we launched our online campus. And I still have people go, but Chris, is that a real church? What's the definition of church? It's the ecclesia, a gathering of people for a specific purpose. And we've just seen incredible stories emerge from our online campus. I'm going to share a number with you, and whenever we share numbers, I hope you understand the point of the number. The point of the number isn't the big number. The point of the number is all the individual ones that make up the big number. It's all about the individual people that make up that, whatever that number is. So I just hope you know, that's just clarifying how we perceive numbers here. It's all about the one that make up, right? So I'm going to share this number with you, because during this B series, we've on average on our online campus, this is the average over this entire series, have averaged online, just online. Well, one other thing about this number. I know, the buildup, right? This represents not total people, because we don't know that, right? All we know, this represents IP addresses. So individual computers, iPads, iPhones, phones, however people want. So we know it's one IP address. We don't know how many people are sitting around that one device, right? We don't know that. We can't know that. If we did know that, that'd be really creepy, by the way. We see all of you, right? That would be weird. We don't. So we know that this number represents at least that many people plus whatever multiplication number you want to put against it, right? So this series alone, 561 on our online campus. Think about that. I'm just saying, right? Some of you have never even stepped online. You need to step online. Every weekend, I love, at our DuBois Hill campus, I love being out in the lobby, high-fiving people and getting to meet people, praying with people. I love that. And right when service starts, I beeline for my office. I jump online, and just know this. No one knows who I am when I jump online. I don't say, Pastor Chris Trethewey as my, no. I have this, well, I'm not going to even tell you what my screen name is. No one knows except for, I think, definitely one person, maybe two people know who I am when I'm online. Why? Because I just want to interact with people. So I'm interacting with people. I'm on our online campus, and then all of a sudden I know when I have to run down the hallway to get ready to come talk. That's my weekend natural rhythm. Why? Because God is just doing something so significant with our online campus. Social media, Facebook, Instagram. In Velocity, it's Snapchat and Instagram. Why? Because method is changing of how people, depending on age, how they're connecting into the social media world. And I tell you, it's incredible to see the conversation going on in social media. And for some of you, you're on social media. For some of you, you're not. But here's one of our goals. One of our goals is social media. If you're on social media, you know it is just filled with hatred and divisiveness and just so much angst. And we as a church, we don't want to fill people's walls with hope and joy and light and love. That's why we do it. And when you comment and when you like and when you share and when you do all of those things, Instagram, Facebook, however that, when you do that, I just want you to know you are spreading hope and joy and life and light and love all across. You have no idea the impact you're making as part of God's church. Another method is our irresistible environments. Every weekend, we have weekend services across 7 different locations, and we just talk about a lot, that we are crafting irresistible environments. One of the number one things that just gives me so much joy inside, when I talk with people and they say this, like, first time I connected with, and whatever campus it is, and this goes for online as well, I've never been to a church that is so friendly. I've never been in a church where I walked in, it's so alive. I've never been part of a church where people wanted to know that I was there. I've never been part of a church that I experienced. And again, this is way before the service, way before the music, way before the message, way before all of that. When they're saying it is something, and guess what's so powerful about that? It's so many of you that make Tri-County what it is. If you're on our guest services team and you're standing by a door, or working in the cafe or one of our auditoriums, or as part of our host team online, like you just get the fact, the power of a smile, the power of a high five, the power of just being present, looking someone in the eye, saying, how can I help you? Welcome. Like it is so contagious. And it's so intentional that we want to be a church, a gathering of people that creates these irresistible environments where people walk in and they're overwhelmed by how friendly and loving the church can be. Something significant. Our Kids Rock environments are all about helping kids experience the love of Jesus in such a relevant, engaging way. I saw a little boy earlier before another service, and he was running, stopping, looking back at mom. Running, stopping, looking back at mom because he couldn't wait to get to his Kids Rock environment. Our Velocity Student Ministry is a space for teenagers, not the church of tomorrow. They're the church of right now, where they're leading and inviting their friends and being part of what God is doing. This fall, we launched our Teen Mom group. It's this group of women that came together and were like, we want to help pour our lives into teenagers that find themselves being mothers. So our very first Teen Mom group is anchored in our downtown campus, our first one. The night was coming. We're all praying, all excited. We had no idea who was going to show up. And guess what? One girl showed up. And when we got that text message, we celebrated. It was like, yeah, one showed up, right? We're like, yeah, that's awesome. Because it's about the one. And all of a sudden, guess what happened with our Teen Moms group? It doubled. It went from 1 to 2, and guess what we did? We celebrated. We're like, doubled. That's awesome. You're like, yeah. And this week, another text message came through. They had 3 new teen moms show up. We're now at 5 who were there this week. And we were celebrating, right? And here's the thing. You know why that's happening? Because this group of ladies, moms, they said, we want to pour our lives into teen moms. They have created an irresistible environment where these teen moms come in and they are loved on and they are welcomed. The environment is set up to honor and to bless and to overwhelm them, to say, we are so glad you are here. And guess what's happening? It is connecting with them right where they are. Every environment is all about helping people experience the love of Jesus. That's why I'm so excited about this Christmas season. Because one of our methods, one of our values is our invite culture, is just to say, come and see, come and see, come and see. I love this story where Philip runs to find his friend Nathaniel. He's like, hey, Nathaniel, I just met this guy. I have no idea who he is, but there's something about him. His name's Jesus. And Nathaniel's like, who? It's like, he's Jesus. He's from Nazareth. And Nathaniel's like, no one good can come from there. And all Philip doesn't engage in some long theological, churchy rant. He says, come and see. I tell you, Nathaniel, there's something different about this guy. Something different. There's such a power just to say, come and see. Come and see. I cannot wait for our Christmas invite strategy. And when you see the adult cards are so cool, they're so fun. We have kid invite cards for our Kids Rock environments. Because why? Christmas is one of those opportunities where people just might say yes. You know, 82% of all people say if a friend invited them to church, you know what their answer would be? 82%. If they were just invited, it'd be yes. And that's why our irresistible environments are so important. And how friendly all of our locations are, why that's so, so important. Because it's all about helping people turn back to God, step back towards God, name Jesus the subject of their life. And when that happens, church, lives are forever changed. For us, baptism is such a big deal. It's a big deal because Jesus made it a big deal. Jesus said, go make disciples of all people, baptizing them, right? Baptism is what God has done within a person, When you name Jesus a subject of your life, that happens at the soul level. Baptism is the outward expression of what's happening inside. Your old self going underneath water, your new self coming up. It's such a powerful moment. And we celebrate it. It's energy. We tell people like, no. You should yell and scream and shout and high five. And it is a deal here. Why? Because Jesus made a big deal. And when Jesus comes alive to people, we should make it a big deal. And if you haven't taken the step to get baptized, December 8th and 9th across all of our locations. And the other thing that happens on the weekends we baptize, you know what happens? And some of you have done this. Every time we have baptism, I hear these stories, people share these stories with me. You use this moment to invite someone to say, come and see. And it's really hard to say no when you invite someone and say, hey, I'm getting baptized. And even if that person doesn't understand that, they know it's something like a big deal. And they're like, you got to come. You got to come and be part of this with me. And people do. And they take a step in. They take a step back to God. Take a step closer to God. It's such a powerful moment. The entire fall kickoff, our Elephant in the Room series was all about, it had one driving purpose. Yeah, we wanted to help relationships. But our driving purpose is we wanted to help you go from a row into a circle. Because life change happens when you sit around with a group of people where you share your story and they share their story with you. When you need someone or they need someone, you're there for each other. And if you haven't taken this step into a life group, I just want to encourage you, take a step in a life group. Our online campus has 2 life groups right now. They meet every week. There's 23, 24 of them in those 2 life groups. And they are on a Zoom video conference. So they can all see each other. They can all talk to each other. But they're doing it through the interwebs, if that's a word. And I just tell you, right? I think God is just smiling that we can now leverage technology to be the church, a gathering of people. And next weekend, we're launching into our My Story season. If you've been part of Tri-County, you know, you're familiar with My Story. My Story is all about this season where we give above and beyond to help impact and meet the needs of people both locally and globally. And this is such a generous church. In every My Story season, the church rises up and gives above and beyond so that we can further impact the lives of our people, both locally and globally. But I have a specific challenge. For those of you that have not taken a step into your generosity journey yet, here's my challenge for you this My Story season. And there's two steps to this challenge. One is this. I'm going to ask you, if you're not giving to God's church, this is not a Tri-County church thing. This is about the church, God's vehicle for the hope of the world, to tell people about Jesus. If you haven't yet, 2 parts of this step. One is this: pick a percentage. Pick a percentage. You come up with that percentage. Determine what that percentage is. And here's a framework. When we realize that 100% of what we have is God's, when we grasp that 100% of everything we have is God's anyway, that percentage that we give back to Him in an act of worship looks so small. But when we do that, Jesus talked about money all the time, because Jesus understood that when you live a generous life, it changes and reshapes your soul. That when you live a generous life, it impacts at the heart level. That's why Jesus talked about money, talked about stuff, talked about our things, warned, cautioned, encouraged, create tension around it. So pick a percentage and give consistently. My wife and I have picked a percentage for years, and we give consistently, and we do that online. And I think it's such a great, great tool. It's safe, it's secure. It's such a great tool so that every month we know what percentage we're giving and that we're giving it consistently. In the busyness and hecticness of our lives, we just set it up. And I tell you, there's so much joy. Every time I look at our bank statement, I'm like, there's a percentage, and there it is consistently. So if you haven't taken that step in your generosity journey, I want to invite you and watch what happens when you live differently. Over the last 9-10 weeks, we've played a quick 90-second, 2-minute video. We've placed it at different moments of the series. And if you've caught this video, maybe you caught these 3 words: discovery, community, and legacy. You see, our mantra, our rallying cry, is to love, live, and lead like Jesus loved, lived, and led. And we're just going to, we're going to scream that everywhere we go. Like, we just want to love. We just live like Jesus. We're going to lead like Jesus. And we're going to leave behind what Jesus left behind. But our mindset, our driving values, our discovery, community, and legacy. Discovery is all about engaging in God's epic story. And we as a church, we want to help everyone, wherever you find yourself in your spiritual journey, to engage in God's epic story. If you're not sure about God, I just want you to know that God desires for you to be part of his story. If you just name Jesus the subject of your life, I just want you to know that God has an epic story that he wants you to be a part of. And if you've been around this church thing a whole long time, I hope you know that God wants you to be part of his epic story. And when you join God and what God is doing, right, you take a step into community where God unites your story with other people's story. It's why the story culture here is so important. Every weekend we share stories. Every Tuesday in staff meetings, we spend an hour sharing stories from the weekend. It's why when I meet people, I'm like, just tell me your story. Tell me your story, right? There's something about it. It's why I share parts of my story with people every weekend. Why? Because there's something powerful when God takes your story and intersects it with someone else's story. It's powerful. And that leads to legacy. That we as a church, we just value scripting future stories today. Because every decision we make today leads to tomorrow, right? It leads to the next day. And so we are just passionate. And this is why the irresistible environments are so important. It's why when you click like or comment or share something on social media, right? This is all about God's work being done through his church, the ecclesia, a gathering of people. There's a company that I'm sure you're pretty familiar with. It's called Chick-fil-A. Oh, there's nothing like Chick-fil-A. Remember that number timeline? So when my number was lower than it is now, I could pound Chick-fil-A sandwiches like no tomorrow and not gain any weight. Now I show up at Chick-fil-A and I order a 12-piece grilled chicken nugget box and a salad. Not real exciting. But here's what's amazing about Chick-fil-A. They've never been about chicken. And you can tell that right when you walk into a Chick-fil-A restaurant, no matter what state and no matter what city. You can tell right when you walk in, it has nothing to do with chicken. And you know why? Because Chick-fil-A's mission had nothing to do with chicken. Their method is chicken. Their mission, you know what their mission is? It's about people and local communities. You see, the founder of Chick-fil-A, Dan Cathy, he wasn't building a multi-billion-dollar business. You know what was driving Dan Cathy? Jesus was the subject of his life. And he realized that his mission was about impacting the lives of people in local communities. The method happened to be chicken. But he realized that his mission was so much greater to impact people's lives. And a few years before he died, Chick-fil-A released this video. And I think it not only sums up what Chick-fil-A is all about, It sums up what the church is all about. And I think Dan Cathy completely understood that God's epic story for his life was to be a bright light in people's lives in local communities. Take a look. It was Jesus' words when he said, I have a new command to give you, to love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. Because what Jesus realized is when we love everyone, people will know that we are a disciple of Jesus, that we are a Jesus follower, that Jesus is a subject of our life. And when people see Jesus' love coming through us, there's something so magnetic to that. I pray that we, Tri-County Church, the ecclesia, a gathering of people for a very specific purpose. I pray that we, Tri-County Church, will be fueled by love. I pray that as we go into this Christmas season, that every invite is fueled by love, that every interaction with every family member, every business associate, every person that you interact with going through the scanning line at whatever your favorite store is, that is fueled by love. I pray that your generosity is fueled by love, understanding of what God has given to you, and that when you join God with what he is doing through his local church, it changes local communities from the inside out. That we as a church, fueled by love, can be such a bright light in a dark world that every like, every click, every comment, every share, you know what you're doing? You're fueling social media by Jesus' love. That we, a church, an ecclesia, a gathering of people, I tell you, we're going to get a lot wrong, but let's not get this wrong. When we're fueled by Jesus' love for what he's done within us, it's a game changer. It's a church. Let's be that church that loves like Jesus loved. Live like Jesus lived. Let's lead like Jesus led, and let's leave behind what Jesus left behind. Let's hold tightly to the mission Jesus gave us, and let's enthusiastically hold loosely to the method so every generation will love, live, and lead like Jesus loved, lived, and led.